Hello YouTube. This is stories from r/tales from tech support. Oh no, not another Reddit reading video with that stupid computer. I work in IT and sometimes do support on the side for people/businesses. I'm sure most of us do or have done this. One of my longtime customers recommended me to local law firm and they called me up. Did a couple of support calls for them. All were easy things. Set up a VPN connection between offices, poke holes in the firewalls for various things, a few minor AD tasks, stuff like that. A couple of months in I got a call they would no longer need my services. Not a huge deal, but I decided to ask why. Turns out, I made the office mangler feel stupid because I was doing the things they asked too quickly and made it look easy. I stopped for a second and said, "You realize I have done similar things every day for the past 20 years, right? It's what you hired me to do." Didn't make a difference. I made it look too easy and he thought that made him look dumb. We received a ticket Monday at 9:10. At 9:11 we responded with troubleshooting steps. When they didn't work, the user called me at 9:15. I walked her through some more and none of them worked. Since the branch she was at was a 10-minute drive, I told her that I would need to send a tech and she would be out there in just a few minutes. 9:30, 20 minutes after the ticket was put in, the user's immediate boss called me and said that her employee was down, and we weren't doing anything to help her. I told her that yes we were, we did some troubleshooting and it didn't work, so I'm sending a tech out there. She is walking out the door now and should be there in the next 15 minutes. At 9:40 the branch manager calls me and says that she has a teller who hasn't been able to work for 40 minutes, and she was told we aren't doing anything to help. I told her that yes we are doing something, we troubleshot the basics, and when that didn't work I sent a tech out there who should be arriving in the next 5 minutes. Then she asked me why her employees weren't told that. I mentioned that not only was the original teller told, but so was her head teller. But she responded that they say we told them nothing. I told her they were told and we record all our calls, so I can send her the recordings. I guess she thought I was lying, so I sent her the recording with the title that she was misinformed. Also the ticket had been updated each time. The problem was fixed 3 minutes after the tech walked in the door. Turns out neither teller nor head teller knew how to turn off a computer that was frozen. Troubleshooting steps included turning the computer off via the power button. They turned off the monitor instead. When I tried to get them to unplug to get it to turn off, you guessed it, then plugged the monitor. They both said they thought that was the computer and I never mentioned unplugging the modem. That's true, I never said the word modem, I said computer. So this didn't happen to me but rather a coworker at the time. I am going to tell it the best I can. My coworker and I worked on a help desk for tier 1 troubleshooting at a financial institution. We only took calls for internal clients and the actual stores around the country. We did internet troubleshooting, printers, phones, and DSL lines. So we always had the usual, the computer doesn't work, when it was really off. Now on to the main event. My coworker got a call from a center stating that their internet is down. He pings the router and all is good. However, he is unable to ping any of the computers. He gets them set up on the backup dial-up. The store calls him back their cell phone. He continues to work on finding the reason for the outage. After about an hour of troubleshooting they decided to start again the next day. The next day arrives and he continues to troubleshoot the issue. Eventually he had the store trace the wire from the router to the switch and ensure that they are plugged in properly. Connections on both ends are good. Well, that's a no-go. He is asking some questions and finally the store said the following. Store, recently we did some renovations, and there was a blue cable going across the top of the door, and we cut it so they could paint the wall. You could hear my coworker's soul just break. He put them on hold, and took off his headset and looked defeated. After a minute he got back on the phone and asked them why they just cut random cables. They responded that didn't think it was important. Eventually we ended up getting a technician dispatched to their location to fix the issue. Moral of the story: don't cut random cables. I've been working at my current job for about 6 months. We're a medium-sized MSP that does tech support for a lot of non-profits around the area. While most of the customers are nice, they tend to be very computer illiterate. Took this call about a week ago. User calls in, nice lady, saying that her computer will shut off at random times. I remote into her computer and found nothing out of the ordinary on her machine. Told her she might have some loose connection somewhere. She swears she doesn't and that she has checked everything. Told her I don't see anything wrong with the computer, so she thanked me and hung up. Couple days later, she calls in again with the same issue, saying that it just now shut itself off. I say now would be a good time to check the wires underneath your desk, you may have accidentally kicked something loose. So as she is crawling under her desk to check, I hear her say something like the train just came by here. Confused, I ask her to repeat herself. She said that she has a model train running on a track around her office. That train ran underneath her desk where the power strip for the computer was. Every now and then, the train would drive by the power strip, nudging the power button and turning everything off. She seemed kind of embarrassed by this as she hung up pretty quickly, but I got a good laugh out of it. Forgive me for any incorrect terminology, I'm not actually in IT, but I helped IT solve a mystery. At the company I work for, most of us use these little bitty Lenovo ThinkStations. They are fine for what we do. Last summer we hired on several new people. One of them had constant problems with their ThinkStation shutting down randomly, sometimes several times a day. IT switched out ThinkStations, cables, checked the electric lines to the cubicle, switched them to a different cubicle, all to no avail. They even switched my ThinkStation with new hire's machine. I had no problems, and new hire continued to experience random shutdowns with my previously flawlessly working machine. Then, one fine day, new hire complained that their ThinkStation had shut down yet again. I happened to be standing nearby and I noticed something unusual. I called up IT right away and asked, could this be causing the mysterious shutdowns? Within minutes, the IT person who had been taking point on the problem showed up to see for themselves. They then carefully lifted new hire's glass coffee mug off the top of the ThinkStation and explained that we do not use the computer equipment as a coaster/mug warmer, because the hot glass mug was poorly insulated and was overheating the ThinkStation. New hire now has the little stand so that the ThinkStation rests upright on the narrow side and can't be used as a coaster, and there have been no more shutdowns. New hire is reportedly not very happy with this development, as they no longer have an excuse for taking forever to get any work done. I don't think new hire is going to last much longer here, but IT and I are happy. Had a user rage at me for 10 to 15 minutes, calling myself and my colleague a disgrace. Said user then went to the manager of the organization and demanded we are removed from our roles. An important point in this would be that we were both only 2 weeks into the job, as we were replacing a third-party team in exchange for our in-house support. This back and forth went on for another hour or so until we eventually even got round to going to see the issue. You guessed it. The user hadn't turned on their computer. They doubled down on the issue, and said it's our job to ensure all machines are on so they can be used. There's over 500 machines on site. I laughed. The manager laughed. We moved on with our lives. IT good times. Back in the late 80s, I was a part of an internship program in school. The systems administrator had to support a network with over 1,000 devices on it and over 1,500 users. He came up with the idea of selecting a group of students to assist him. We didn't get a wage, but we did learn valuable skills in IT, and this in turn has turned into an almost 30-year career for myself. The following takes place in 1990. A little background on the network setup. We had recently upgraded from 3COM's 3 Plus Open Network Operating System to Novell NetWare 3.0. The servers were all 3COM 3 servers, and were connected using BNC coax connections, and connected to the school district's mainframe via a dedicated frame relay. One day, we get a call from a guidance counselor that her printer had stopped working. We had been diagnosing some connection problems between some of the servers and the mainframe. Since the printers were all connected to dedicated workstations/servers, we thought maybe her server was experiencing connection problems. The system administrator and I go down to her office, and before our eyes we see smoke coming out of the printer, a plant hanging above the printer and water dripping down from the plant into said printer. We informed her that she should move her plant and that we would get her a new one. We retrieve a new printer from our office and bring it back down to her office. Just as we are entering her office, we see her in the process of rehanging her plant above the server. "Stop!" shouts the systems administrator. "Water and electronics do not mix. Your printer is dead because you got water in it from watering your plant. You need to put your plant somewhere else." The systems administrator suggested a few safe places in her office. Luckily for us, she chose one of those safe places. It was this day that I learned some people are extremely dense when it comes to common sense and diagnosing cause and effect. Working help desk one bright morning. A user brings his laptop to me stating, "This will not boot no matter what I do. I don't know what happened." On the screen I see, "No boot device found." Power cycle to check behavior and get a PXE boot failed. So I mosey on over to the boot sequence, set it correctly. Reboot, same behavior. Run onboard diagnostics. Inconclusive. So I take the rear panel off, remove the battery and SSD. As I peel back the layers it begins to smell like a Starbucks. I remove logic board with a foreboding feeling, and sure enough, coffee had been spilled into the laptop. I was able to dry the parts up, clean thoroughly with electronic parts cleaner. Luckily that restored the laptop to full functionality. User was apologetic. I told him no big deal. Moral of the story, avoid bringing your work laptop to a coffee tasting. TLDR. A user brings his laptop to me stating, "This will not boot no matter what I do. I don't know what happened. Laptop was soaked in coffee." I just got this email. It came in at 6:48 PM my time. I'm going to summarize. "Hey person dude, supervisor said you're pretty handy with Excel. Can you get us something similar to this for your department? We need it for a forecast meeting with head honchos tomorrow, but we will likely use it for market forecasting for FY20. You can use former finance analysts' old Excel sheets as a jumping off point. I'm offline for the rest of the night but come online early tomorrow. Thanks, Senior Manager." Attached is a set of 5 Excel spreadsheets. The main one is about 2 megabytes, but it points to 3 spreadsheets each with about 20,000 rows of data. It's metrics for every sale their depth has ever performed since 2012. By the way, my company is the largest in our industry and this branch does about $2 billion of sales a year. It's $15 billion of sales data over the last 7 years complete with macros, buttons, graphs, etc. He's asking me to build something similar for my department. In 13 hours. Literally weeks and weeks of work for a senior finance analyst. I'm not a senior finance analyst. Ticket closed. CC manager and 2UP, unable to assist, not an IT related issue. Please contact appropriate department. About 20 years ago, our company is laying network cable at a customer location. Cat5e, because it was finally time to expand the network to the other rooms. There is some existing cables already, spec'd Cat5 and checked both ends. There's a neat report about this. After everything is done, we have one user complaining about a slow connection to the server. We check and surely, 10 megabit is all we get. No matter how much we fiddle with the settings on the workstation or switch, 10 megabit, half duplex will work, anything other will not. Now then, we follow the existing old cable where it should go. Strange, it's not going through the wall as expected per the drawing, but up on the old false ceiling. Above the balcony. That is 4 meters high. Okay, any volunteers to go up there and crawl over 2x4 beams, 2 feet apart? So here we go. And halfway, we find it, this little 4-port hub, a brand we've never heard of before, 10 megabit only indeed. I guess what happened is they ran out of time, quickly ran the cable over the ceiling, found out it was more than 300 feet and decided a no-name mini hub was cheaper than doing it all over again. TLDR. When a shortcut becomes too long, bad things happen. 15 plus years ago. Me. Obvious. Client needs to reorganize some stuff. Recently some new cabling has been put in at the client building. To not bother things too much, this was done during the holidays. Client, we have trouble with the network in this section of the building. Also, some outlets are almost unusable. Me. That is quite surprising, considering we measured all cables and they all tested almost perfect. Client, we know, we have seen you testing and we have the reports. Could you please come over and check? Me. I guess there's no other option indeed. Arrive at client. Walk to the area that has slow connections. Indeed nothing out of the ordinary. Switch seems healthy, just the link to the central switch seems slow. I follow the cable. Then I see some blue light blinking. I look up and see through some small windows at about 8 feet high it comes from the other side of the wall. Me. What is going on in there, client? Oh, good you ask. That is where we have the almost unusable outlets. It is the automobile section, the welding class to be precise. Me. Head walls. Explain to client that welding causes a lot of electrical interference and will break down the signal greatly. Like listening to poetry when cannons are fired. They agree to put fiber along that section and remove the workstations and thus the outlets from the welding class. They were not used very often anyway. TLDR. When sparks can be seen, usually the network cannot. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more edit videos like this one.